was around. Gotta love Snoop Dogg. Old school. Never can go bad. Music your parents used to listen to. You know that kind of shit right there. I'm Gary D. Welcome to Gary D TV and podcast. Tonight I'm going to go a little light on you. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about something that is amusing to you but painful to me still to this day. Not in a bad way, just remembering how those ass whippings used to hurt. Today we're going to talk about my grandmother, me, and the bout. They go together like the Big Mac. Lettuce, cheese, pickle, onion, sesame seed bun. I mean, that's what it was. I did something bad, grandma whipped my ass. It was an occurring recidivism thing there, all right? But it was worth it because look where I came today. I mean, hell, she did a great job and I love her for it. That being said, flashback to 1978 or so, North Middle School, 7th grade. And it's time to learn those things like sexual education and child abuse. But before you learn that stuff, you had to get a signature from your parents to even be in the class so they can talk about it. Now, flashback to the day when you come home from school, and what I would do is I'd ride the bus home, the RTD, get out, go in, take off my school clothes, put on my play clothes, take the football, go out and play football every day. Around 6 o'clock, my grandma called me in. I went in, ate dinner, day was over. Now, flash forward to the school. This day, we're going to class, and Mr. Smart, our science teacher, is going to teach these classes. And today's class is abuse in the family and child abuse. Well, what happened is he started it out and started showing projections of families and black and blue marks. And I saw that, and it's you know, if you're really getting abused, it's a bad thing, believe me. But then he went to a slide and said, if you've ever been hit with one of these things on this projection, you may be abused. Now, on that projection was an extension cord, a belt, a frying pan, an iron, a dough roller, a switch, hell, a rope. I can't even go into all the stuff that was on there. But one thing, I have had my ass beaten at least one time by one of those things. That being said, I never thought I was abused. It was just my grandma being my grandma. Old Italian lady, 2nd grade education. You got to do what she says or you get your ass whipped. Therefore, I learned something that day. I learned that if you were beaten by any of these things, you could actually call the police on your parents and they would come and talk to them about it. Well, I was never going to do that. But what I thought in my little mind was, I can use this to play football later. That's what I was thinking. Didn't care about the use thing. It was just a reason so I could stay out later to play football. So, end of the day, go home, get on the bus, get out, go in the door, take off my school clothes, put on my play clothes, grab my football, go outside to play. Well, like every day, come 6 o'clock, grandma's in there cooking, and she calls out, Gary, it's time for dinner. And I tell my friend, my friends stopped. They actually stopped because they know my grandma whipped my ass. And they're like, man, you better go inside. And I'm like, nah, man, we can keep playing. They go like, nah, man. Even the older kids are like, man, you better go inside. You know your grandma gets mad. And I'm like, nah, man, keep playing. I got this. So we started playing. Again, 20 minutes later, my grandmother calls out, Gary, get your ass in here. It's time for dinner. My boys stop and they're like, man, you know she means business. I'm like, no, man, just keep playing. I got this. So after that, I didn't hear my grandma anymore. So I decided to go in because I know I was pushing a little bit. So it's around 6:45, 7. I go inside and there's my grandmother, all right, with a belt around her neck. And she's telling me, do you know that I've been calling you for the last hour? I said, Grandma, I was playing football. I didn't hear it. You know you hear me. Every day you hear me. I'm like, Grandma, I was playing football. Get over here. You're getting an ass whipping. I go, Grandma, wait. Stop. You can't whip my ass today. She said, what? I said, you are not allowed to whip me anymore. She looked at me in this baffled look and said, oh, yeah? Tell me why. I said, I learned it in school. If you hit me, that's child abuse. I can call the police, have them come over here and tell you not to do it anymore. She said, really? I said, yeah. my grandma goes, she's, come here, come here. You know those old phones that have the circle rotary? Now about this time, I'm getting a little bit of, I don't know, a little knot in my throat. And that's because I think I pushed it a little too far. But she goes over the phone, hits that thing, a chicka, 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 chicka. Gets on there. There was no 911 back in that day. She says, operator, give me the police department. She says, okay. Transfer to the police department? She goes, yes, I want to talk to one of the police officers, please. She said, I'm an officer, and I can hear it on the phone. She said, my grandson, who I've raised ever since he's been a baby, just told me that I can't spank his ass when he does something wrong. I'm going to tell you what, my name is Anna Voxhoven. This is where I live. You want to come get me? You come get me. But he's getting his ass whipped. She put the phone down, not on the receiver, just so they could hear it. She grabbed me and commenced to whipping my ass. Okay? And I'm running around the circle, and she had me by my hair, and she just whipping my ass. Said, don't you ever tell me I can't spank you. You know I'm your grandmother. You better listen to me. Now, every time I got an ass whipping, she said, after it was done, she'd come in and give me a hug and said, you know I love you, but you can't do bad things like that. It's just me, you, and your grandpa. If I tell you something, you need to listen. I said, okay. Now, all that time, I'm in my room, sniffling, crying. Saying, oh, gosh, I hate this. I hate her. And I'm waiting for the police to come because I know they heard it. Guess what? This ain't 2021, okay? Ain't no police coming. That ain't happening. I learned that shit the hard way. Well, the next day, I go to school. What I didn't know is that my grandma called the school up before I went to school that day, asked to talk to Mr. Smart, and started bitching me out saying, are you the one that told my grandson that I couldn't whip him? Now, I didn't know this conversation took place until Mr. Smart told me so, but when I walked in that classroom, he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was just disgusted in him. I just was, because he told me a lie. My teacher told me a lie. I got black and blue marks on my ass, and I'm waiting for the police, and none of that. Everything he said was just a lie. This is what I'm thinking. So he's looking at me as I go in, and he's smiling, and we sit down, and he says, Mr. Beheimer. I said, yeah. He goes, I heard you had an eventful night last night. I said, by who? And your grandmother told me. She told me that you told her that she couldn't beat you, she couldn't discipline you anymore because it would be abuse. And I said, yeah, I told her that, and folded my arms. And he goes, listen, I have to teach you these things because that's what the school board does. They make us teach you these things. But if you would have done the same thing that you did your grandma to me and I was your father, guess what? You would get the same ass whipping. And he started laughing, and so did some of my friends. I'm like, so that's how it is. I learned my lesson. I was like, man, you can't challenge grandma. Don't listen to shit on the outside, all right? You listen to what you're supposed to do, or you get your ass whipped. And that's the tale of the story. So, if you want to learn about real discipline, then listen to the stories in the 70s. I'm Gary D. This is Gary D. Podcast and TV, and I'm out of here. Thanks.